headlines here. Police investigate 2 acid attacks just 500 yards apart in East London after a woman suffered burns on her face and legs, and a man was attacked as he left light railway station. So you've got this increase of acid attacks, and it pretty much always gets traced back to a radical Islamicist migrant. You've got Berlin sets up New Year's Eve party safe zone to protect women from migrant sex attacks. So, you know, instead of doing something about all the migrants coming in and raping the women, they just tell the women, well, we'll try our best to protect you from the people we're bringing in. Yeah, just like they had to set up barriers at Christmas markets because radical Muslims were running people over with cars. And then in New York, expect unprecedented New Year's Eve security in Times Square. That's the NYPD. And it seems like every year there's more radical terror attacks. So then every year, New York police have to step up the New Year's Eve security. Now, let's recall, we were told, and I understand that the convoluted issue this is, but we were told that radical Muslims attacked the Twin Towers on 9/11 because they hated our way of life. Now you get stories almost every week of radical Muslims blowing people up, running people over, stabbing people with knives. Why? Well, now they just don't even cover it. They just act like it's nothing or that it's cultural enrichment. So it's weird, that double standard. But I just wanted to go to this clip because let's not forget about who President Hezbollah was. Let's not forget about President Hussein. And let's just think critically for a second why we keep seeing an uptick of these attacks. Here's a clip, a controversial clip of President Obama admitting he's a Muslim. Is Barack Hussein Obama a Muslim? Does he have Muslim heritage? Does he have Muslim loyalty? Does he think that Islam is wonderful? Well, let's go to his own words.
Assalamu alaikum. Many other Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim majority country. I know because I am one of them. But my father came from a Kenyan family that includes generations of Muslims. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn. I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction.
You are absolutely right that John McCain has not
conviction. Did you hear that?
My Muslim faith.
Oh, his Muslim faith.
As the Holy Quran tells us.
The Holy Quran.
The Holy Quran teaches that. The Holy Quran tells us, and the Holy Quran also says, we will convey our deep appreciation for the Islamic faith, which has done so much over the centuries.
Yeah, because they have such a deep appreciation for America.
I would like to speak directly to the people and leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Their great and celebrated culture. Over many centuries, your art, your music, literature, and innovation have made the world a better and more beautiful place.
Did he ever say that about
America?
America
You are a great
or Christianity?
civilization, and your accomplishments have earned the respect of the United States and the world.
I also
But if a U.S. citizen was on the streets over there, they'd get killed.
It was Islam at places like Uluzala that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. There was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra, our magnetic compass and tools of navigation.
Pretty sure
our
that
mastery
was,
of pens
I think that was the Europeans.
Our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed.
No.
Islamic culture has given us majestic arches and soaring spires.
So there's Obama just trying to tell you he's a Muslim. Are you shocked terror attacks happen in the United States now?
Roger Stone with my colleague Owen Schroyer with the days ticking down to January 1st of next year. Owen, the biggest story today appears to be revelations by Fox News and others that the emails that were sent by Huma Abedin to Anthony Weiner's laptop or server for safekeeping have been released by the U.S. State Department. What we do know from these reports is that classified documents were included and in many cases had to be redacted. But here is the updated report from INFOWARS. My sources in the New York Police Department, who were the first law enforcement agency to locate and review these documents, tell me that the material that the State Department released is only a small portion of the emails that Abedin forwarded to her home server for safekeeping. My sources tell me the complete set of documents, which were retained by the New York Police Department while sending a copy to the FBI, included proof of corruption, bribery, pedophilia, Bill's womanizing, and Hillary's efforts to cover up his serial sexual assaults. One detective with the New York Police Department told me point blank that after reviewing the material, they believed the entire file was Huma Abedin's blackmail file, meaning if the Clintons ever decided to turn on her, as they turned on Jim and Susan McDougal, for example, that the material contained here was so explosive, so potentially capable of blowing up not only Bill and Hillary, but that the safety and long-term financial security of Huma Abedin would be secure.
Well, this to me is another example of just the cat being out of the bag, Roger. You know, they cannot put the cat back in the bag. They cannot put the toothpaste back in the bottle. They cannot put the genie back in the bottle. They've been totally exposed. They've been exposed in the FBI trying to rig the election for Hillary Clinton. They've been exposed saying that they need an insurance policy in case Trump wins. Now we've got all of these emails, not just from WikiLeaks, but Judicial Watch is getting emails as well. We're getting more information on Clinton's inner circle, such as Huma Abedin, and I believe it was her cousin that just got charged as well. I mean, what are they going to do? Everyone around the Clintons is collapsing. They're all collapsing. They're all being found guilty of some sort of crime. They cannot hide this. This is it. This is the end of the Clinton dynasty.
But some might say, well, Huma Abedin's cousin was convicted of fraud, but that's not Huma, and therefore it's guilt by association. Let's review the facts in that matter. Let's put up that headline for a second. And what you will find is that Omar Amanat, the first cousin of Huma Abedin, was convicted of multiple counts, including fraud this week, for lying to shareholders of a technology company. Now, what is significant is not only the fact that in their defense, they attempted to fabricate phony exculpatory emails and introduce them as evidence, getting caught for that, but that Huma's cousin was partnered with the Russian bazillionaire real estate magnate, Vladislav Doranin, but had determined that Doranin had determined that Huma's cousin was, in fact, a swindling crook. Now, what's interesting here is that Doranin worked previously for Mark Rich. You remember him, don't you? Mark Rich.
Oh, yeah, the guy that Bill Clinton pardoned.
Exactly. He's the guy who fled the country, was a fugitive from justice, but his heavy-handed and influential lobbyists bribed Clinton. They circumvented the entire formal system for a pardon, delivering the papers to pardon Mr. Rich only in the 11th minute of the 11th hour of the countdown of Bill Clinton's term. Now, the significance also is that, speaking of Mark Rich, Dan Gertler, one of the 13 corrupt, serious human rights abusers who were cited in President Trump's December 20th executive order, which I spoke extensively with David Knight about this morning on The Real News. This is an executive order that appears to be the precursor for a Justice Department sweep of Bill, Hillary, and an entire platoon of criminals in the Uranium One matter, perhaps in connection to Libya as well. Gertler was an Israeli billionaire who also worked for Mark Rich. So all lines seem to go to the original crime in which Mark Rich was able to purchase a pardon from the President of the United States for a multi-million-dollar contribution to the Clinton Foundation, passed through his wife, thought to be a lover of Bill Clinton.
And the amazing thing about this, they thought that they were about to get away with everything because Hillary Clinton was about to become president. And I mean, who knows what she would have done in her 4 years or, God forbid, 8 years. But it wouldn't have mattered because she would have destroyed America. She would have so corrupted the DOJ, so corrupted the FBI, so corrupted the CIA, if you can believe, even beyond what it already was dealing with. But they didn't get Hillary in, and they got Trump in. And so now all of their crimes are sitting on their doorstep. And so they're trying to point at 500 different stories. Oh, Trump, Russia over here, dossier over there. Oh, you know, women over here, Me Too over here. But guess what? Those crimes are still sitting right on their doorstep, Roger.
No, you're absolutely right, Owen. And look, I hope that Dr. Jerry Corsi, who in my opinion may be one of the finest and most dogged investigative reporters working in journalism today, is right about the impending awakening of the Trump Justice Department. Now, we do know that in a very quiet and methodical way, the Trump Justice Department has been rolling up pedophiles and working with other law enforcement agencies, particularly in Europe, to do so there as well. Certainly a step in the right direction. But we have learned in recent weeks that President Barack Obama and his administration were indeed trafficking guns to ISIS, were indeed trafficking guns to Al-Qaeda. When Donald Trump said in the campaign that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton invented ISIS, he was right, even though he was widely chided. The proof is now in. And now, even more incredibly, Owen, we have learned that the U.S. government under Barack Obama covered up cocaine dealing in this country by ISIS, which was generating hundreds of millions of dollars. They did not bust the ISIS drug ring because they did not want to upset the Iranian nuclear deal.
Well, and this is just me pontificating. Maybe there was another motive behind that. You know, I mean, do you think Bill Clinton would wanted to have stopped a cocaine deal? If you can get where I'm going with that.
Well, you know, Owen, it's hard for me to say. You can find an interview with Bill Clinton in which he says, cocaine, what does that look like? I've never seen it.
Yeah, meanwhile, his own brother says he snorted cocaine like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. This is all very, 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 very broadly documented in my book, The Clintons' War on Women. In fact, Governor Bill Clinton went into drug rehab at least twice in preparation for his campaign for the presidency. You can get that on the INFOWARS store now, where, needless to say, our New Year's Eve's specials are selling at drastically reduced prices. Oh, and I don't know how Alex Jones does this, but the very best products, like my own favorite, Brainforce Plus, at deep, deep discounts today. And that is what pays for the war room. Oh my goodness, you've caught me with a bottle of Russian vodka. Please, Mr. Mueller, please don't indict me.
Oh my gosh, Roger.
Red-handed, buddy, red-handed. Look, even The Nation, in an incredible piece yesterday, figured out that Russiagate is devolving into an effort to stigmatize dissent. The entire Russian collusion narrative is nothing but fear-mongering, red-baiting, and war-mongering. It has no basis in fact, despite the millions and millions of dollars spent by the federal government, by Mr. Mueller, by Mr. Comey, by the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, by the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. There is not an iota, not a scintilla, not a not an entire shred of evidence that indicates that the Donald J. Trump for President campaign conspired effectively or ineffectively with the Russian state. No, I'm sorry. Donald Trump Jr.'s meetings with a Russian lawyer are legal, are proper. They don't constitute a campaign finance violation. That is fake news. Now, the fact that the Russian lawyer that Donald Trump Jr. met with was in the country on the favor of the Obama administration without a visa, the fact that we have photos of her at a Hillary Clinton rally and photos of her in Senator John McCain's office, well, Owen, can you say set up?
Well, the whole thing was a setup, but the most incredible thing to me is, okay, beyond the fact that we got all the Russian collusion evidence on Hillary Clinton with the Uranium One scandal, okay, fine. They want to act like that doesn't exist. I have a feeling that that'll become a bigger story in 2018, perhaps. But on the surface, I think we would all agree it appears that President Trump and Vladimir Putin get along very well. However, if you look at the geopolitical power struggle right now between the United States and Russia, it's very, very real. And if you look at foreign policy in Ukraine and towards Syria, well, it kind of goes against what Vladimir Putin necessarily wants for foreign policy with those two countries. So, I mean, it's beyond delusional at this point. Every fact points to the opposite. There was no collusion. There never was any collusion. If there was collusion, it was the Democrats. And if there is any sort of relationship with America and Russia or Trump or Russia, it's a serious power struggle right now.
As you point out, Owen, the Trump administration is now giving weapons to the Ukrainian government.
I'm sure that was Vladimir Putin's call.
I mean, it's just another example of the bogusness of their entire argument. We are subjected to this torrent of fake news, this avalanche of fake news in the Russian collusion delusion. Enough, Adam Schiff. Enough, Nancy Pelosi. Enough, Senator Chuck Schumer. Enough, Senator Feinstein. Enough, Senator Mark Warner, the worst of the worst. You have nothing. You have bupkis. You have nada. Give it up. No, it's not worth going to war over Syria. Syria, where Assad finances Hezbollah and Hamas, propped up by the Russians, or the opposition, propped up by ISIS and a million other fanatical Islamic terrorist groups, backed by our friends, the Saudis. We have no friends in Syria worth spending a borrowed American dollar or a drop of American blood.
You know, Roger, it always makes me beg the question, as you just listed off that group of corrupt politicians that continue to try to shove this Russian collusion narrative down our throat, even though it has no bearings, no foundation except a fake dossier, no proof, no evidence, just all rhetoric, all fake news. It just continues for me to beg the question. Why? Why are they doing it? They know that there's nothing there. They know they have no evidence. They know no one is believing it. Why? Why do they keep doing it? And I always continue to believe, it's my opinion, the louder they scream, the more skeletons they have in their closet. Why would these people continue to try to sell you a fake story that they know is fake, that they know you know is fake, unless they had some serious skeletons in their own closet that they're afraid are going to be exposed?
Nobody has nailed this like Alex Jones. He said from the very beginning, the irony of this is the people accusing Trump of being in bed with the Russians are the people who were really in bed with the Russians. It really does win the Chutzpah Award of 2016. They are guilty of the very crimes that they accuse our president and his family of. And justice is quite surely coming, in my opinion.
I think it is too. I think that we are currently in the calm before the storm. I expect it to come in January. I think that that's why President Trump again made the announcement that January will be a month to raise awareness for human trafficking, child trafficking, and the like. So I'm kind of sitting here with bated breath as I think the storm is approaching. We're about to go to break here. Owen Schroyer, Roger Stone on the War Room. Again, folks, we ask for your support at InfoWarsStore.com. It makes everything possible. And you know by now, if you've been following us, you get tomorrow's news today. You get next week's news today. You get next year's news today. And it's all possible with your support. So please help us enlighten more people. Help us get this word out. Help fund independent, real media that wants to spread truth and wants to put light on the cockroaches in our government. InfoWarsStore.com. Huge specials, New Year specials, free shipping. Check out the New Year Gut Pack. 50% off Myco ZX and Flora Life Combo. It's all at InfoWarsStore.com. You fund us, we expand.
We're back on the War Room and literally days away from the release of the 12th annual International Best and Dressed list, which I compile every year for the Daily Caller and my website, stoneonstyle.com. Now, I want to stress to you that the list is bipartisan, non-political, and is 100% non-ideological. The actual finalists for this list is, generally speaking, a very closely held secret until New Year's Day, when it would be published at both the Daily Caller and at the Stone on Style site. And I'm predicting that it'll show up at the InfoWars site for a whole new generation and expansion of readers. So I'm not going to say today who is on the worst dressed list. Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not going to mention some of the people who really look like they're shopping out of the Salvation Army. Lena Dunham. I'm not going to mention even friends who engage in fashion faux pas. Steve Bannon. When I had Steve Bannon on my worst dressed list last year, he was so proud of it, he showed it to all of his friends. A great patriot, Steve Bannon. But Steve, drop the 3 button-down shirts. It's not working. A terrific piece about Steve Bannon's multiple shirts by Olivia Nuzzi of the Daily Beast. And she published this, or we republished this at Stone on Style. So it is with great relief, I tell you, that the list has been finalized. It is being held in a bank vault in Orlando, Florida, and will be released on New Year's Day. Now, here's a hint, Owen. There are at least 2 Info Warriors on this list.
Well, my favorite part of the list, other than myself last year, would have to be the relentless jabs that you take at the people that make the worst dressed list. I forget the verbiage you were using to analyze Chunk Yogurt, whatever his name is, of the Young Turks outfits of last year. I think you mentioned perhaps how he gets most of his suits at Goodwill, and you suggested maybe trying to find a tailor in there. Yeah, there we go. So I always get a kick out of reading your breakdown of the people that make the worst dressed list. It always provides me a smile and a laugh.
Well, in the case of Chunk Yogurt, let's just say that he looks like 2 kids fighting under a blanket. I would not expect to see him on the best dressed list this year. But we do have some very tasty choices. This is not something that we take lightly at all, Owen. We are open to your suggestions. If you want to email me for next year's list, you can do so either at stone@stonezone.com or stone@stonecoldtruth. And we will consider your nominees. But so far, so good. This is a tradition that I am privileged to have picked up from the late Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell was an arbiter of fashion, a designer based in Hollywood, And his praise or his scorn could make or break the career of a young athlete or socialite, a business person or starlet. So it is in that spirit of good taste and style that we have continued this valued competition, as it were. I must tell you, it is very, very difficult, far more difficult than you might think, to find men and women who understand the difference between fashion and style. Fashion, you see, is fleeting. It changes. Skirts may go up, skirts may go down. Neckties may be thicker or fatter. Neckties may be thinner. But style endures. The navy blue double-breasted blazer with military buttons will always be stylish. The little black cocktail dress will always look smashing. So I really look forward to the publication of this year's list, Owen.
Well, I'm going to be having my eye out for some of my submissions. I suggested Jake Tapper be on the worst dress list simply because of his choice of ties. That's it. I don't understand what makes this guy choose the ties he wears. Don Lemon, same thing with the ties, and then just a total lack of style, it seems, with Don Lemon. Rachel Maddow goes on there and looks like a lumberjack that just ate, 15 pancakes and came out of a Dexter's Laboratory cartoon. So I'm kind of looking forward to who makes the worst dress list this year. Because like I said, I always get a kick out of reading you really smashing into these people that look hideous when they go on air. I mean, I understand if you don't want to make a bunch of big deal out of what you wear, but come on, Rachel Maddow. You don't have to look like a lumberjack that wants to go, to the girls' bar and, hang out.
Look, there is a certain fastidiousness that I think is expected from professional, serious people. As Stone's rule goes, look good, feel good. Some people literally look like they dressed out of a dumpster. Michael Moore, for example.
Well, he might have just crawled out of a dumpster too, so let's be fair.
Entirely possible. In any event, let's move on. The list is on its way.
Hillary Clinton trying to dress like Kim Jong-un. I'm just saying.
Well, she appears to have put on a few pounds based on some wire photos I saw of her last week. She has no idea what she looks good in. She has no idea the way darker colors.
An orange jumpsuit. She looks good in an orange jumpsuit.
From your mouth to God's ear, Owen.
Did you hear that, President Trump? Hillary Clinton would only look good in an orange jumpsuit.
Look, I think now is a good time to mention that if you're enjoying the War Room, if you like this repartee between Owen Schroyer and myself, and often our colleague Rob Dew comes in for some pithy commentary, recognize that this expansion of programming is only possible if you go to the INFOWARS store. We are not subsidized by wealthy conservative financiers. We rely completely and totally on listener and viewer support through the INFOWARS store. This is what guarantees the complete and total independence of INFOWARS. We are unbought. We are unbossed. We will bring you the stone cold truth and more because we depend not on one big chunk of money from any sponsor who can affect our thinking, but by many, 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 many purchases from InfoWarriors and liberty-minded patriots. And that's why by going to the store, Alex Jones nailed it when he calls it a 360 win. You help promote conservative programming and liberty-oriented truth-seeking here at InfoWars, and you get the very best all-natural products, First Amendment-oriented t-shirts, books, and other products that we think you want. Alex Jones and his scientists have put together some of the most extraordinary formulas fusing the old and the new, the very best of centuries-old Chinese herbology fused with cutting-edge natural supplements that have been rigorously tested for their effectiveness. Now is the time, for example, that Alpha Power, an extraordinary new formula for energy and endurance, is 50% off. Owen?
And let me tell you, these products are the real deal, folks. All you got to do is go to the store website and check out these reviews. These are certified reviews. See what other folks are saying. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take Roger's word for it. See what other folks are saying and try them for yourself. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the War Room. I'm your co-host, Roger Stone, with my colleague, Owen Schroyer. We're broadcasting from an undisclosed location in sunny South Florida. We are interested to note today, Owen, that the resignation of Senator Al Franken becomes final, effective January 2nd. Now, extraordinarily, it was INFOWARS that broke the story of the initial accusations by Miss Leanne Tweeden against Senator Franken. I think it's important to note that since that time, 6 additional women, every single one of them active Democrats or Democrat activists, have come forward with allegations against the good senator. Nonetheless, for bizarre reasons, out-of-work actor Tom Arnold, a lefty who doesn't have much of a career left, but evidently still gets residuals from Roseanne, who I believe may be on this year's best dressed list, having upped her game substantially, made baseless accusations saying that I had coached Leanne Tweeden. Well, the problem with that is I have never met, communicated, or spoken to Miss Tweeden, never mind, quote, coaching her for weeks, as Mr. Arnold said. Unfortunately, Tom Arnold was able to prank former governor of Minnesota and a former governor of Minnesota, and strangely enough, a real freak by the name of Richard Painter, a Council on Foreign Relations member, a member of the Trilateral Commission, who worked in the George W. Bush White House as a Bush administration ethics lawyer. Yes, an oxymoron. Mr. Painter, a member of the bar, continues on Fox and CNN to make baseless charges, claiming that the resignation of Franken should be delayed until we examine the role of Fox News and Roger Stone. Well, Mr. Painter, there is nothing whatsoever to examine. I have sworn out an affidavit here in the state of Florida stating under oath that my only involvement is in reporting this matter after hearing about it from a reputable source who has no connection whatsoever to Miss Tweeden. You say you want a full Senate investigation? Superb idea. Let's have those hearings. Everybody should be under oath about their role, or in my case, lack of a role in this entire controversy. I'll go first under oath, Mr. Painter, and then you can go under oath and provide the evidence or proof to your baseless, wild, crazy charges. Now, I bring this up to try to sum it up before the end of the year because now, joining this cavalcade, this charade of falsehood, this waterfall, this torrent of lies, is Crazy Joe Scarborough. Even he jumped on this bandwagon, saying that Roger Stone of INFOWARS had something to do with Franken's fall, somehow orchestrating it, somehow making Miss Tweeden's claims false. Once again, this is false. I don't know Miss Tweeden. She is most attractive from the photos of her that I have seen. I hope that we have put this to rest, Owen.
Well, that's interesting to me because it's kind of been a weird story with Al Franken alluding that he's going to resign, but not committing to it, then kind of taking a step back, then under more public pressure saying, okay, I will resign. And now you get all these people in the media wanting to protect him from resigning. It's really a strange story to me, you know, because they're quick to jump on any false accusation against President Trump and call for his removal. But somehow Al Franken is above reproach here.
Well, not only that, but Tom Arnold said in his Twitter feed that he would publish documents proving his claim that I coached Tweeden and brought her forward. Then he published documents that seemed to me to be innocuous, but more importantly, have no connection to me whatsoever. So listen, Fatso, put up or shut up. This endless claim that you have evidence that implicates me in any role other than journalist in this matter grows very tedious.
It seems a similar story, just like everything else that they're doing right now. Trump colluded with Russia. No evidence. Hillary Clinton is going to win the election. Nope, she lost in a landslide. I mean, these people cling to bitter lies. They cling to realities they wish existed that don't.
Well, and I must tell you, Owen, I've been watching Joe Scarborough very carefully on the air. I kind of wonder if what we're really seeing is one of these things where the nose is actually attached to his glasses, because it appears that way, like it's a fake nose or something. I mean, this guy says the president's crazy. No, Joe, you're crazy. You see that? The nose is definitely attached to the glasses. All he did was tear the mustache off. I think it's clear. This is.
Oh, whoa! Is that Joe Scarborough? When did Joe Scarborough come on with us? What the heck's going on?
Exactly.
Oh, there's Roger again. Oh, sorry, Roger. I thought Joe had joined us for a second there.
It clearly, you can see that from that photo that the nose and the glasses are one piece.
You know, another thing about Joe Scarborough, while we're making fun of Joe Scarborough, I always have a good time doing that. Have you ever noticed, since you've been monitoring his broadcast, have you ever noticed how he basically just beats, not physically, but like as far as when they're on air and commentating, how he just kind of always keeps Mika down? Like, he never lets Mika talk. He always talks over Mika. And then Mika is kind of over there, no pun intended, like meek, like kind of like, ooh, like, I don't want to talk over Joe. Joe's talking. I want to say something, but Joe's talking, so I can't say anything. It's very strange. I mean, Psycho Joe. I mean, this guy, this is truly Psycho Joe here.
But I would say this again, though, particularly when he is addressing the president directly, or when she is. Look at the look of unadulterated hatefulness in her look. Look at the anger and the bitterness and the hatred. She becomes an ice queen in that moment. Now, what's the irony? We were the first to report here at InfoWars that Dina Habib Powell, Council on Foreign Relations member, Trilateral Commission member, George W. Bush White House operative, was joining the Trump White House staff, quite improbably, and ultimately rose to the job of Deputy National Security Advisor. How in the world did a globalist villain, who most assuredly did not support or vote for Donald Trump, get this job? Well, now we know. It was Mika Brzezinski who made this recommendation to the president. And several weeks ago, when it was reported that Dina Habib Powell was leaving her position, we at InfoWars correctly reported that our sources told us that Habib Powell had been caught leaking and had been terminated. Now, that's not the public story, but that's the kind of inside truth we bring you here at InfoWars.
All right, Roger, we got a minute and a half left here of you being live on the War Room for 2017. What are you looking for in 2018?
Well, I would note an extraordinarily good report from Axios, the website that has done a very good job of chronicling the Trump administration. They have an extraordinary interview up today. And I tend to agree with this, Owen. I think Mike Allen and Jim Vanderhei of Axios say that Trump will be more aggressive in several areas in terms of pursuing his agenda in 2018. After interviewing numerous insiders, these reporters paint a picture of Trump's future agenda. Expect tougher trade talk, including tariffs on steel and aluminum, or at least the threat of tariffs. Trump's cabinet calls it trade war talk, but the president considers it a no-nonsense way to level the playing field where many imports are subsidized by our originating trade partner governments. Trump also intends to deliver on his promise to build the wall, and I believe it will start to put the squeeze on the foot draggers in that regard. Trump also will tackle aggressively the issues of chain migration, anchor babies, and other forms of currently legal immigration for reform. And I think it's very abundantly clear